All right, good morning, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. We appreciate you coming out this morning. We are happy to have some of the counselors from the high school down to talk. The purpose of today is just be more casual, informal. They're going to talk about some of the things that you can expect, kind of go over diploma types and different things. Then we're going to open it up for questions. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Amy Kurjanowitcz from the high school.
Good morning, everyone. How many of, I know some of you, but how many of you have students at the high school or have had students at the high school? Okay, so a lot of this is not going to be new to you, but some of the state requirements have now changed for diplomas in the state of Virginia. So starting with your students next year, there will be 2 Virginia diplomas. There's a standard diploma and an advanced diploma. Briefly going to go over a standard diploma. This is what we call our credit check sheet. It's our worksheet. It's nothing that's legal. It's just a document that we use with the students and with the parents to show them the students' progress towards their diploma type. And it also will be in Power School. There is a progress, I think, is it called Progress to Graduation? Progress toward graduation. Progress toward graduation. Okay, a standard diploma, a student is required to have a minimum of 22 credits. And a credit is a year-long course. We're on a semester basis, so they earn a half a credit for each semester, totaling 1 credit. So they're required to have 4 full years of English, 3 full years of social studies, and 2 of them must be U.S. history and government. And generally they would take World Studies 2 in 9th grade. They are probably taking World Studies 1 this year, and they are receiving high school credit for that course. Their English course this year, they're not getting any high school credit for. Math, they're required to have at least 3 maths at the level of Algebra 1 and above. There is a math sequence called an Algeom sequence for students who need longer time to learn the material. Algeom 1 is counted as an elective credit, not a math credit. Algeom 2 and 3 are counted as math credits. So they would have to take an additional math in order to meet the 3 course requirement here. Science, they have to have at least 3 sciences in at least 2 different disciplines: the physical, the chemical, and the biological. The physical science that they're currently taking this year does not count for high school credit. Even though I said physical, the physical science course they're taking this year is not for high school credit. They're required to have 2 years of PE and health in 9th and 10th grade, and if they want to take additional PE and health, they can take something called championship training at the high school if they want to continue with their athletics. Alyssa, can you just scroll up a little? Thank you. Foreign language is not required for a standard diploma, but students' requirements now have changed in Career and Tech Ed, the CTE. They must have at least 1 Career and Tech Ed course to get the standard diploma. They can take 2 and not take a foreign language, or they can take a foreign language and the CTE. Whatever is additional becomes elective credit, so they don't lose anything. If they're taking a foreign language this year, that counts for high school credit. If they're in, Alyssa, is it just Spanish 8 or French 8?
Every student taking a foreign language is in high school credit.
Okay, so they're already coming to the high school with a foreign language credit if they're enrolled in that this year, and with a World Civ 1 credit if they're enrolled in that this year, and with a math credit if they're enrolled in algebra or geometry this year. Not pre-algebra, but algebra or geometry. So some of them may be arriving with at least 3 credits starting off in high school in 9th grade. The other thing I don't want to forget to tell you, I asked Marcia not to let me forget either, was another requirement for the state of Virginia now is that a student who's pursuing a standard diploma must take a workplace readiness exam, which is created by the state of Virginia, and they must pass that in order to graduate, or they must have a credential from Career and Tech Ed courses that they've received. So that'll be an additional requirement. Where we have, and I'll go back to this in a minute, virtual courses, again, it's a brand new requirement in the state of Virginia. A student has to have taken at least one virtual course before they graduate. Now, at the high school, well, I should also say personal finance and economics, which is actually written incorrectly, it's really economics and personal finance, is another requirement that's now on the plate. And we can offer personal finance and economics in a virtual setting or in a semi-virtual setting, which satisfies this requirement. So it's not an additional course, but I just want to let you know how we satisfy that. And then they have to have at least 4 more electives, and they have to be, at least 2 of them have to be sequential. So what that means is it would be Art 1 and Art 2, Photography 1, Photography 2. If they're not using a foreign language, and they're doing CTE, it could be Spanish 1 and Spanish 2 as electives, as long as they're sequential. So just 2 of them have to be sequential. And then this down here, these are verified credits, and I think you're all pretty aware of what verified credits are, the SOLs, the end of the course testing. For a standard diploma, they must complete, or they must pass their English SOL in writing and reading in the 11th grade. That's the year that they take that. They must have 1 social studies, 1 math, 1 science, and 1 of their selected choice to get the standard diploma. And not every course has an SOL with it. So it just depends on the courses that they're taking. Any questions so far? Yes?
The virtual course, does that count as summer school, or does it need to be a year-long?
So if a student is in summer school and they take a course virtually, that would satisfy that. So if they're doing what we call our high C program, and they do that in summer school and they receive a credit for it, then that would count as a virtual course. Yes?
You might want to mention that usually in summer school, students can earn a half credit. They usually don't have enough time to earn a full credit.
They usually don't, but in certain situations, you're absolutely correct. Most of our students only can complete a half a credit. Certain students actually remediate in summer school, and when they're remediating, sometimes they can remediate for that full credit.
Depends on the situation.
Right, absolutely. Okay. Yes?
Can you talk a little more about the personal finance and economics course, like what the options are?
The options are, we have traditional classroom setting. We have a high C, which is our hybrid program, which is computerized with a teacher in the room, and they work on their own independently.
But if I can just interject, even in the classroom, the students do a lot of modules online, and the material is supplemented by the teacher. So sometimes they work in the classroom on the computer, but they can also do the work at home. And then when they come to class, they have more discussions about what they've read and what they've done.
What's high C?
It's our hybrid classroom. We just abbreviated it and called it high C. Yes.
So would the high C be on their schedule, or is that done on all on your own time?
Okay, so when your children register for classes next year, they will not register for any high C classes online. They'll register just for their classroom courses. If a student wants to do a high C course, they'll see their counselor, and the counselor will sign them up.
But when do they go actually sit in a classroom, you said? At
Oh, it would be during the school day. It would be a block of time that's designated for them if they're taking it during the school day. We have had students who take it above and beyond their 7 courses that they take in 9th grade, and they work at home on their own. Okay, let's go to the advanced. No.
It's at the bottom.
The bottom of the screen, maybe?
Yes.
Okay. The advanced diploma is very, very similar to the standard. This one requires more credits. It requires 26 credits. It says for the class of 2017 and beyond. I believe your students are the class of 2018. Wow, it's hard to believe. I just remember when we turned 2000. It's like yesterday. The additional for the advanced diploma, they still have the 4 years of English, but now they're required to take at least 4 years of social studies versus the 3. They're required to have at least 4 years of math versus 3, and it has to be at the level up to and including at least Algebra 2. Science, and if they do what I mentioned earlier, which may not really mean much to you, that Algebra sequence, they probably will not be able to get the advanced studies diploma because of the math. Science, it has to be at least 4 years, and now it has to be in at least 3 different disciplines. I know some of you are going to have some questions about IB at some point, so I'm just going to throw this out right now. With the science, where they have to have at least 4 years in 3 different disciplines, if in addition to getting an advanced studies diploma, they are an IB or an International Baccalaureate diploma candidate, they are waived from the 3 different disciplines. It has to be in at least 2 different disciplines. And the rationale for that is that they really want to delve into something a lot further. So they may want to take biology as a freshman, chemistry as a sophomore, and then they really love that biology. So they wanted to do IB Bio first year, their junior year, and IB Bio, the higher level, their senior year. So it's only 2 different disciplines. But that's the only thing that the state will waive for that. Foreign language, for an advanced studies diploma, they have to have a minimum of 3 years of language, and most of our students have beyond that. And when I say minimum, these really are the minimum requirements. A lot of our students have more than that. Again, the health and PE is the same. Melissa, can you just scroll up just a little? Thanks. Personal finance and economics and the virtual course is still required. The fine arts and career tech ed, they have to have at least 1 course and 3 different electives. So there's a slight variation. And then with the SOLs, this increases as well. The English, the writing and the reading still stays the same for 11th grade, but now they need 2 verified credits in social studies, 2 in math, 2 in science, and 1 of their choice. Yes?
Language arts for advanced diploma?
That's English.
Okay.
4 years of English. I think in the middle school we do call it.
Did I say, I meant foreign language?
Foreign language, they must have at least 3 years at a minimum for an advanced diploma.
2.
Or 2 of 2
2
languages.
of 2. Okay.
Yes.
So maybe you're getting to this, but what's the difference between having an advanced diploma and a standard one? Who does that matter to?
A lot.
Especially in the context of IB.
It's an excellent question. It's really an excellent question. It does appear on their transcript, which kind of a diploma, and I brought some transcripts to show you what a college will see, or a student applying for a job when they graduate, what they will see, or the military will see. And it does say on there whether they've received the advanced studies or the standard. Our school profile tells the difference of what they are. There are less requirements for the standard than there are for the advanced. We have had students who have done the full IB diploma and have gotten the standard diploma. Generally, they get the advanced studies diploma. The reason that some of them might get the standard is their families have moved a lot and they cannot meet all of our requirements for an advanced studies diploma, but they can for the standard, and they're still getting the IB diploma. I can't speak for colleges because I'm not in each college, and so I can only share information that we've been given from colleges. My response to any parent or student who has a question is to call a college that they're interested in and ask the admissions representative what they think. Would you even look at my transcript and my application if I have a standard diploma? A lot of the colleges on their websites will list what they hope a student will come with. And if they say they're hoping a student will be arriving with 4 years of math, then you're on your way to an advanced diploma. Or if they want you to have 3 years at least of a foreign language, you're probably looking at an advanced diploma. That's the best I can answer. Can either one of you answer it?
Well, I've asked 3 colleges since I've been a principal in the state of Virginia. They all look at the advanced diploma. I would say UVA, Virginia Tech, and Mary Washington University. They all look at the advanced studies because that's showing them that the kid is willing to take the level of rigorous, go that extra mile. And that's the kid that they are looking for, who can actually balance the rigor with the being well-rounded, like an extracurricular activity or something else. So UVA, Virginia Tech, and Mary Washington University. And those are state schools.
Great. Steve, one of you?
I think it's just important to remember that if a student's getting an IB diploma, the situation may be a little different. in terms of deciding between that. If for some reason a student can't get that advanced diploma, for whatever reason, but they're getting the IB diploma, the circumstances may be a little different, and that's something that we could investigate we could help that student investigate with the colleges and universities that we're interested in. Quite frequently, the IB diploma kind of trumps most other.
Right, and I almost call the IB diploma the icing on the cake. Because they're required to get a Virginia diploma, either the standard or the advanced, in order to graduate. That's a requirement. IB is not a requirement, right? But we work with the students so they can get both.
And what Ms. Ashahi just said about looking for that rigor, the IB diploma is considered the most rigorous type of program of study that a student could take at George Mason High School. So that, fits with that profile of looking for, rigorous courses.
Yes.
So if you were to take some classes, say you weren't doing the IB diploma, but you're just taking some classes that were IB, they can still count.
Absolutely.
Okay, so like you're taking IB, whatever science, it's still counting as one of these.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. It still fits one of those slots for each one.
And that probably sheds light, when you said that if you're doing the IB, the state will waive one of those years of science.
Not a year, they'll waive the different discipline.
Okay.
They wouldn't have to.
And still get an advanced diploma.
Correct.
Okay.
But only if they're doing the full IB diploma.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so can you go to so after we're working with your students, we then create something called a transcript. And on the transcript.
I'm sorry, can you go back to which SOLs the kids need to take if they do the advanced, please?
They have to take the English reading and writing in 11th grade.
Okay.
They have to take 2 math, 2 science, 2 social studies, and then 1 selected choice.
So each one is an SOL, so 1 math and then there's an SOL, another math. And
Correct.
SOL. Okay.
Right. Now, not all courses have an SOL
Gotcha.
attached. Physics does not have an SOL. Government does not have an SOL. And government is a required course.
Okay, thank you.
But the good news is your 8th graders who are taking world civilizations and maybe algebra or geometry, if they're taking an SOL and they pass the course and pass the SOL, that counts as one of those SOLs because it's a high school credit course for the world civilizations, algebra, geometry. Foreign language doesn't have an SOL, which is the only reason why I didn't mention it.
Gotcha, thank you.
I was just thinking about, I saw the government, when I was a student in the state of Virginia, everybody took government, whether it was AP or whatever, senior year. And I heard that some like sophomores were taking U.S. government. Is there that track that this is the year everybody does it, what level you're in is decided by you, or is it now that you can take, as a freshman, I'll take government, and as a senior, I'll take World Civ 2, or, how does that work, or is there a progression track, I guess?
There is a progression track at George Mason, but it's not a required progression track, if that makes sense. So generally, our 9th graders take World Civilizations 2. Generally, our 10th graders take government, whether it be AP or regular government. And then I'll backtrack in a second. Generally, our juniors take U.S. history, and then they can take a 4th history or a 5th, depending. The rationale behind the government in 10th grade has to do with the IB diploma, because we have 2 courses, one called IB History of the Americas, which is the IB version of our U.S. history. And then the follow-on to that course is IB World History. So they can only take those 2 IB courses their junior and senior year.
So you have to get it out of the way first.
So that's the rationale for why we offer government in 10th grade. But a senior could take government if they hadn't taken it.
Are other high schools still following the same senior year U.S. government, or?
I don't know.
It depends on the high school, to be honest. Some do the same thing in 10th grade and some do it in 12th.
Yeah, I would think a lot of IB schools would have to follow the same.
Any other questions before we move on to the transcripts? So we just brought a few different transcripts with us today, just samples of really true student transcripts, so we could point out some things to you. Obviously, their personal information has been blacked out. Every transcript will look similar. This is a George Mason transcript. This one actually is a standard diploma. So remember I said it would show on the transcript whether it was an advanced or a standard diploma. This transcript shows a student who has not taken any IB courses. And part of the reason I wanted to show this was a student can graduate and be successful whether they've taken IB courses or not. If they've taken IB courses, they've taken the most rigorous program of study at George Mason, as Marcia said. But a student can graduate without having taken IB courses. Every transcript will show where a student was awarded the credit for a course, the grade that they're in, the year they took the course number, course title, the grade, and how many credits were awarded. Every transcript will show that, and it's separated by semester for George Mason. If a student transfers in from a school, even Fairfax County, they don't have semester grades, they have year-long grades. So theirs would be separated by a year. At the end of each semester, or at the end of each year, it shows how many credits were attempted. In this student's case, the student attempted a half a credit. How many the student completed. The student completed a half a credit. And what the GPA is, or the grade point average is. A D equals a 1.0. That's why that's there. At the end, Alyssa, can you just scroll up for a second? Well, while Alyssa's looking at that, it also lists this counselor's name and our school code and division code on it. Thank you. At the end of a transcript, it will also show the work in progress, meaning what the student is currently taking at this time. There's no grade awarded with it, no credits attempted or anything, just what the work in progress is, how many credits they'll get at the end. And then it gives the cumulative GPA, which means over all the years or all the coursework that they've done, what their final grade point average is. And then we also have a listing of total credits attempted, total credits earned, total verified credits, and substitute courses, but that's insignificant. How many absences a student had each year. In this case, what I wanted to point out was the student attempted more than the student earned, because this student didn't pass every one of his or her classes. Okay, that's just one. Melissa, can you go to the next one?
Can you answer a question that's commonly asked? The 8th grade, if they have a high school credit course in the 8th grade, is that counted in the cumulative overall?
Absolutely. If a student pursues a high school credit bearing course in 7th or 8th grade, it will appear on the transcript. But I'm going to go one step further because we've been asked this before. If a student was not successful in that course, and let's say a student got a C in World Civ 1 or Algebra 1, what happens? Well, the student at that point probably is not really thinking about their transcripts, so it went right over their head. But the parents are looking at that, and they're saying, I know my student can do better. You can request in writing to the counselor at the high school prior to the beginning of the student's 10th grade year to have the grade expunged, meaning taken completely off the transcript. Now, what does that mean? Does the student repeat the course, or does the student go on to the next course? That's up to the student and the parent in conjunction with discussion with the counselor. Is that answer perfect? Okay, good. Can you make this one just a
I can't, the problem is I can't put it into the full page.
Oh, okay, all right. This is an example. I don't know if any of you are State Department or military or move periodically, but this transcript shows a transcript of a student who actually started, I believe, at George Mason, then moved and went to an international school overseas, and then came back to George Mason. So I just wanted you to see how it would appear onto a transcript. I'm old, I cannot remotely read that.
No way.
What was that?
I'm old, I cannot remotely read that.
Try tools on the upper right.
Maybe just
Try
a little
tools
bit
to do
larger.
that.
I can't read it, I'm in the front row.
I can't read it, and I'm right here.
It just won't let me scroll down.
That's all right. That's all right. Let's.
My bad.
This is showing a student. Remember we were talking about the hybrid classes. This is showing a student who took hybrid classes. It doesn't say hybrid on there. It does say part 1 and part 2, and that's just our internal. I didn't bring, you want to?
Do you have those?
I do.
Just so they can reference?
Hmm?
So they can reference it while you're showing?
Only
Are
have
they
one
the same?
copy.
Oh, okay, okay.
Do you
We can
want-
make some.
We got it. It's all good.
Thank you. Is that better? Okay, this is showing the student was at George Mason in 8th grade. Now, that brings me to another point. Your students who are coming to George Mason next year as 9th graders who are taking high school credit-bearing classes now, or who took them in 7th grade, it will say Mary Ellen Henderson Middle School with the courses that they took. This student happened to be in 8th grade when we had 8th grade at the high school. So this student took courses in 8th grade, 2 different semesters, then moved to an international school. I don't know the name of that school. Suva?
Fiji.
In Fiji?
Yeah.
And so all it says is the name of the school that that student attended, and later on in the transcript it will actually give the address of that school with the school's name. So if someone was looking at this transcript and had questions and wanted to go to that school, they would have all that information there. It lists the courses and the credits just as it did before, but notice it doesn't have a course number because their course numbers don't correspond to our course numbers. We actually list the exact course that the student took. And if a student does transfer to us from another school, if they were awarded credit at that school, we accept the credit as long as they're coming from an accredited institution. We never award credit for something that they've taken elsewhere, but we accept credit when they come to us. Did I leave anything out on this one?
You might want to put the SAT.
Oh, thank you. So this student took the SATs, and they're listed on the transcript. The state of Virginia requires us to list the SAT under ACT on the transcript, but a parent has the option to request removal of it. Again, it has to be done in writing, and that's actually to the high school principal.
And our system, our school automatically pulls the highest score. And if the student got, higher in reading one sitting and then higher in math the next, it'll actually have different dates on the transcript.
And though this looks official, and the transcript, when it's signed and sealed, is an official document, what's not official are the SAT and ACT scores according to colleges and universities. They require a student to request it directly from them to go directly to the college or university. So even though it's on there, they don't look at that part of it as being official. Yes?
How are pluses and minuses calculated in the GPA?
They have no bearing on the GPA.
So an A plus or an A minus counts the same?
It's all an A.
How does GPA go above 4? I'm like really.
Okay, well,
That's what I'm getting
that's
at.
an excellent question, and I apologize for not pointing that out. If you'll,
Grade 11, Amy.
Yeah,
Grade 11.
no, I know, but I was looking for above to see an honors course. See, if something has an H, and you'll see it on the next transcript, that's an honors course, and that does not have any additional weight to the grade point average. But an IB course or an AP course, only if you see that, that's weighted higher. So an A on a quality point scale is worth 4.0 points. With an IB course, if you got an A, it's worth 5.0 points. That's how come we can have above 4.0.
Or an IB A minus is a 5?
Correct. An A is an A, whether it be A minus, A plus, or A.
So you could get an A plus and a non-IB, and an A minus and an AB, and an IP, and have a higher with the A minus.
Correct. That's absolutely correct.
Okay, thanks.
But I will also share with you that a lot of colleges, when they get a student's transcript, they unweight everything. And they put everybody on a level playing field. That's what they.
Because everybody has different ones in different
Right.
schools?
Absolutely.
Because I'm like, I look at the new GPA, I'm like, what is this back from when I was, like, is this the new 3 point whatever,
Right.
is now a 4 point whatever?
And not everybody is on the same scale, even. I mean, there are, in certain districts, where our A minus A plus is a 90 to 100. In other districts, it could be a 94 to 100 as an A. So colleges and universities, and I will go really in depth with this, because in the fall, we hope that you will come to what we call our round robin night, where we go over all this information more in depth. What's I gonna say?
Colleges.
colleges look at?
Oh, the colleges are looking at grades, but they're also looking at levels of courses that a student is taking. So if a student is taking an IB course and they're getting Ds in those IB courses, they're probably saying they might have been better off taking a college prep course or an honors course.
If you look at the George Mason High School, grade 11 center column, 2012, 2013, you can see that it's identified AP Calculus,
Right here.
CP is College Prep, and IB International Baccalaureate. So each course is identified that way so that the colleges know what they're looking at in terms of the level of rigor.
And our school profile points this out.
Right.
That always
It
gets sent with the
explains it.
transcript as well.
And where does college prep fit into the hierarchy
Of
of
of coursework,
Yeah.
I would say that if it's available, a general level is here, college prep is here, honors is here, AP and IB are here. And in certain courses, we don't have anything but college prep. World Civilizations 2 is all World Civilizations 2. It's all the same, yes.
I have a kind of related question. A year or so ago, I was looking on the GM course catalog and languages, and it seemed like there were just incredible amounts of labels on the different courses. And were they some of them the same courses with different labels? Can you explain what's happening there?
Well, I will share with you that it confuses us as well. It's difficult to catch on, especially when you get to the IB course levels in world languages. Because our students start world languages at a very young age, by the time they get to high school, many of our students have taken more than many students in high school take. So we keep upping our ante to meet the needs of our students. As a matter of fact, this year we have French at the IB level, higher level, at level 7, which is huge. So what's confusing are the label with the number of years a student has taken the language, whether it's in SL1, SL2, which is standard level 1, standard level 2, or HL1, higher level 1, or higher level 2. Every single one has to have a different number, course number. So we will help your student determine what is the next level that they should go into. I wouldn't fret over looking at all those numbers and saying which one. If your students are in Spanish 2 this year, and they want to continue with Spanish next year, they'll go into Spanish 3. Then the next year they have a choice. They can go into Spanish 4 or Spanish 4 AP. Then they have a choice. They can, if they're going to continue, they can go into Spanish 5 SL. They can go into Spanish 5 HL. It just,
But are there that many divisions being taught in the school, or are they combined in one class?
a lot of our higher level language courses are taught in the same room at the same time, at different levels. The assessments are different, and the requirements are different.
I just want to, and you had mentioned this, but to verify again, so if you have a child that's taking high school credit classes either from 7th or 8th grade, and you want to have it expunged from the record, you have to put it in writing. It comes off the transcript, or will it be listed on the transcript and just no grade?
Good question. It will, if you request it in writing prior to the 10th grade year, it will be expunged and taken off the transcript completely. Nothing will appear.
Including they don't get the credit either.
They don't get the credit, they don't get anything. And then that's why I said the next question is, do they repeat that course or do they move on? Because if a transcript shows geometry and doesn't show algebra, somebody would probably question what happened to algebra, because students take algebra generally before they take geometry. So
you can't get the credit either?
No.
Okay.
It's all or nothing.
Got it.
Yes.
How much time are our kids going to spend with an advisor planning their 9th grade schedule?
That's a good question.
This is fabulous information, and we can need professional help.
and that's our goal, is to please. Okay.
It's gonna be okay.
One of you want to answer that?
Preparing for the 9th grade, so that's.
Oh, preparing for the 9th grade. Matt, how do you want to answer that?
Do you want to highlight what how we're going to be selecting courses, when we're going to be doing that?
I think we'll be-
Tentatively?
Right, I mean, we'll be doing that in February. We don't have the exact dates yet, 'cause it's gonna depend on when the high school counselors finish up at the high school, to then come down here. We, historically have done it where we have the kids run through and we talk about options to them. There's also been previously, and I'm assuming we're doing it, we have the videos up so parents could walk through with the kids.
Yes.
Do the kids sit down one-on-one with an advisor at any point, or is it all in groups?
We have not done that, no.
Okay.
So what we do, trying to think the best way to explain how we do this. First of all, let me just say that if they register for classes and they're not in the right class, we'll fix it. We don't make them stay there. If they're not in a rigorous course where they need more rigor, we'll move them.
So the teacher would talk to
And to the counselor, and we know that we'll hear from you. And it is important for your students to know that we're there for them, and that if they don't feel like they're in the right class, whether it means they have to move up or move down, we need for them to talk to us. Yes.
And Ms. Kurjanowitcz will explain how we all put this together. But keep in mind that we're going beyond the 9th grade year today, talking about a lot of things that aren't necessarily on the table for tomorrow. So when you're registering, helping your student register for 9th grade, the decisions aren't quite as awesome as it sounds like they are. There are really very few decisions to be made for 9th grade. A lot of things are still are required because we're trying to help them get those graduation requirements in 9th and 10th grade so that then they have all of these options in 11th and 12th.
Absolutely. Yes.
So I have a question. If we're thinking that we want to get a grade expunged, so for example, a language grade, when they go to register for these classes in February, like you said, you don't want it, like if she's taking French 2 and I want it expunged, you don't want all of a sudden French 3 to show up on the transcript without French 2. Should we be thinking about registering again for French 2? Is that even allowed?
Yes.
Since she's taking it currently in 8th grade?
Absolutely.
And then you would, at a later date, request for it to be expunged? Or
We don't request.
Well, no, I'm
You
saying
have
would I request now without
could.
even really knowing
It
her
makes
final
it that
grade?
much easier. It would make
Well,
it that
you
much
will have
not
to
before
wait
you
till
get the final grade.
No, but I
Not
mean
before.
before she goes into 9th grade, or he
Right.
goes into 9th grade.
Okay, because you were saying that they register in February, so what happens if she registers
You
for
can
French?
certainly change that too. I mean, that's
It's
in no way
fluid.
binding.
Right.
This is for them to get an idea of what to plan for next year, so the high school has some idea.
Right, so we can create our schedule.
So at the end of this year, we're not happy with the grade, but she registered for French 3, I can go and request during the
Absolutely.
summer, and you could change her schedule so she could
Absolutely.
retake French 2?
Absolutely. And Alyssa and I work over the summer, so either one of us.
Okay, and that would be better to take care of all of that summertime before they start, so her
Sooner you
transcript
do
was
it,
more fluid.
You don't have to worry about it. It's done.
Yeah.
Yes.
So in MEH last year, there was a paper where, they picked what classes and the parents signed off on it. Is the same thing true in 9th grade?
So, we no longer require certain things in 9th grade. I'm just going to show you something. I think you're referring to something similar to this. Something similar where they listed, oh no, it looks different.
It looks different.
It looks different than this. Yes, yes.
It gives the options
or
that
that
you
class.
choose.
Correct. In the high school, we no longer require parent signatures. I would love it for rising 9th graders to talk with their parents and know that the parents know what courses they're signing up for. But we don't require it. I don't know how you're gonna
We can
create
certainly
a
can.
form.
Yeah,
I
I was
think
gonna say, it's gonna
I
be
think
easier
it'd
for
be
you
good
guys as
transition.
parents.
Yeah.
We can certainly do a form like we did last year.
I think we should.
Where they can plan their choices.
No visibility?
The thing is
Come in and
that
register.
Does
we
their
do.
performance not dictate that over the year? I mean, if, coming to the end of this year, their performance and their grade is surely going to dictate.
Some of it will, but some might be choice of what they
In a
want to
way
do
it
next.
does, and in a way it doesn't. We have open enrollment at George Mason. So if a student is very strong in math and not as strong in English, just using that as an example, they may want to take a more rigorous math course than the English. But I'll be honest, as parents, sometimes we think our students have greater strengths in other areas and want them to pursue that. Sometimes it's in the best interest and sometimes it's not. So I think the consultation for the decision-making for the courses for 9th grade and or not the courses, but really the level of courses should be in conjunction with their current teacher, with their counselor, and you as parents. I think that a coordinated effort really helps. The teacher knows the ability that they see in the classroom. You know your child better than anyone does, and the counselor knows the child. So I think all collectively they can come up with what they think is the right course. Remember, if it's not, we'll move them.
And then once students are in 9th grade to 11th grade, when we're meeting with them to talk about the following year, the teachers always have conversations with students about what to expect in a certain class, and we as counselors meet with them as well.
Right. We would never allow a student to jump from Spanish 2 to Spanish 5 without some question. So if they or inaccurately mark a box to register, that'll be a red flag for us. So I wouldn't want you to worry about that.
And is there registration online as well?
It will be, yes.
Right?
Yes.
And they did that last year too, so
Right.
the students should be comfortable knowing that.
And to give you a sense of timing, we're starting our online registration. It's a Monday. It's either February 10th or February 12th. I think it's February 10th. And we start with our rising seniors and work our way down. So we'll be registering our rising seniors on the 10th, our rising juniors on the 11th. The 12th Wednesday is a short Wednesday, so we won't be doing it then, and then our rising sophomores. Now, as a 9th grader, if your child, and I have a feeling this may be a question for an elective, doesn't get or is fearful that they won't get an elective because the upperclassmen have registered first, that's not true. If it's like an art class or a drums class, the whole master schedule gets put together at the same time. There are upper level courses that a 9th grader cannot take, but they would not be excluded from an art or drums or theater because they registered after a sophomore. That has no bearing on it for those instances. Yes.
Well, I was back to the other thing I was going to say. I think the form we did last year, if you were taking an advanced class, you could get the signature of your teacher as well as your
And we
parent, so that kind of check, that.
It does, and
that.
we got rid of that at the high school a few years ago, but I think it'd be great if we could still do that.
And I think we're waiting until after the 12th to do anything with scheduling, because that's when the parent night is going to be. And the search should hopefully be there, so some of those questions you guys will have answered at that night. And then the Mustang and Draft search are also coming down next Friday during Flex for 8th grade. And they're going to be able to talk with some of the students about options and things like that too. So there will be some more opportunities for some of those questions to be answered before we get to the point of picking classes as well.
Absolutely.
So,
And then they register online?
yes, they will register online.
Okay, two questions. The first one is, are any of these virtual classes, or can they only take economics and personal finance as virtual?
No, we have quite a few virtual
great.
hybrid classes, high-C classes.
I don't need to know which one, but I know that there's more than just personal finance.
There are.
Okay.
There are quite a few.
And then the other one is from getting parent signatures and things like that. I have a problem with that because I want my daughter to be able to make her own decisions, certainly in conjunction with us, but she doesn't need my signature. So I want to make sure that that's not going to be a hindrance for her to register for next year if they decide
So
to
you have
it.
a couple of options.
Uh-huh.
You could, going with what you said, you could just sign off because you agree with what your daughter is doing.
Uh-huh.
Or you can contact her counselor and tell her that, or him,
Okay.
that please accept her registration as is, and there will be a note made on the paper.
Okay, I would do something like that because it seems to me that by the time they're going to the 9th grade that they need to start making their own decisions.
And I think too, this is our first year registering. I mean, it was very different last time we did this with the 7th graders going into 8th grade.
Sure.
They were going from more structured to less structured for that 8th grade year. So some of it will definitely be kind of like what you were saying is what they've done this year, what they've done through middle school. But to be honest with you, they're going to be registering online, and that's what will be sent. That's what the high school will see.
Okay.
It's then up to the students to bring us to sign forms. So
And then
if
we
they bring
keep a
them to us,
copy.
that's great. But unless we're stalking each and every single child.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just have
Right.
a problem because they need to start making their
Right,
own
and yes, I
decisions.
totally agree with
And,
that.
I think my daughter's able to do that, so. Okay, thanks.
Yes.
Once it's online, can we view? Like once, you know, can I see it on Power School? Because I have one that I would like to check up on. Exactly. Because my idea and his idea might be very different.
And there are many instances of that. Yes, you will. I can't tell you exactly when.
But we'll have more information about that as it gets closer, when the window will be open.
Yes. Because right now, I have it set up that nobody can do anything with it. Because I don't want students registering for courses yet, because we're not prepared yet. So.
Our course catalog is online?
It will be online.
And do you know what day the parent night is, to go over this all again?
February 12th.
So February 12th, you'll have an opportunity to hear in great detail more about just the registration process.
Yeah, today we just wanted to give you an overview of a high school experience, what would be required to graduate, just to give you a heads up. Yes.
Can you tell, well, 2 questions. When are they registering?
Okay. It will probably be the end of the 2nd week of February. It will not be before February 12th. Because we have a parent night for you on February 12th.
It'll be during the 2 weeks after that.
Well, they'll have a maximum
Right.
at the end of that. Because what happens is we need to have all the registration requests in so that we can create a schedule and we can hire our teachers and tell our teachers you have a job and how many sections we need and the whole bit.
Okay, so part 2 then, and my question was, so for 9th grade, how many choices are they really making?
Okay, that's a great question.
What
And we'll go over this in depth on the 12th, so hopefully you'll be there on the 12th.
Okay.
But in English, they'll have 3 choices for levels. It's all English 9, but there'll be 3 choices for levels.
Like they have this year.
Social studies, they have 1 choice. Science, they have 2 choices, basically.
Level or type?
Level. Math, it depends where they are now, what they're taking now, and what they've taken will determine what course they're taking. If they're going to be taking algebra next year, they'll have a choice of algebra or honors algebra, geometry or honors geometry. It just depends on what math they're in right now. Language depends on what year they're in. There's not a level in 9th grade for a student, it's just the next year.
They have to take PE.
They have to take PE, there's no level, it's all PE 9, depending on their electives.
And the electives, what?
One elective?
One elective.
And what are those things?
It depends. If they're not taking a foreign language, they can take 2 electives. But if they are taking a foreign language, they would have an additional 1 elective.
And what are those, just generally?
Electives?
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. You've got to come on the 12th. I mean, it's visual and performing arts. It's
Is it like our encore?
I don't know what's on
Yes,
board.
yes.
Okay.
Those are choices, plus there are additional choices in addition to those.
Could another language be?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Second language.
Absolutely.
You want to,
But I promise you we'll go into this in depth on the 12th.
are you going to touch on choir at all, or are you going to wait till the?
Well, we have contract choir, but that's in the morning before school, so it's not during the school day.
If they want to stay with their instrument, then there's no other elective. It would be band?
Probably.
In a foreign language.
If they're doing language.
Okay.
Yes.
With regards to the English, and I know there's the 3 levels, same thing we had this year. And I've never gotten a clear answer on, I imagine it changes year to year, but kind of how tight is honors? Is it 1/3 of the cohort, or is it smaller?
Okay,
Because
so
I think we missed the mark when we were picking our class this year, and I don't know how to, if he was told he could either do CP or honors, either one would be fine, but I really don't know, like,
The difference.
not the top English kid, but I think I could have put him in honors and we didn't. So I'm just
Okay.
trying to figure out where.
So on the 12th, I'm going to be inviting our CERTs, or our curriculum instructional resource teachers, to come in English, math, science, and world language. So hopefully they can answer very specific questions like that. We do have a chart, and I apologize that I did not bring it. It outlines the different levels of English 9, what the requirements are for each course, because there's more writing in certain levels than there are in others. There's more in-classroom reading than in others, where they require more out-of-classroom reading, and I don't have that with me right now to give you the specifics, but I hope to have that
It's
on
similar
the
to our
12th.
program of
Yeah,
studies.
it's similar to what we had in our program of studies, and basically it
it boils down to more independent learning.
But that's not, my question is, say are there like 8 sections of English this year in 8th grade or 6?
It's all gonna depend on how many students requested, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So, but I know the same at the high school.
I'm asking about past history, like this year, are there like 2 sections out of 8 or 3 sections out of 8 that are honors? Like how tight is it?
I think it was 4.
4 sections of honors?
4 out of 8 are honors?
We have 10 sections.
10
total.
sections.
I'm not 8th grade, so it's hard to figure that.
At the high school, what we do is when students request courses, we know the number of requests, we know the school board's mandate for classroom size, and we obviously try to adhere to that the best that we can, and we divide those by sections. So it might work out one year that we have more honors levels than CP, or one year it may work out that we have more CP than honors. It just depends on the numbers. It really is a numbers game.
With so many new students, it depends on
Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
As far as the electives are concerned, do they only register for one, or do they do several choices in case?
Well, that's an excellent question. They would register for one, and then we request that they write. When they register online, they put in for one, and then on the paper that they're turning in, we request that they write alternate and list an alternate. So if for some reason they don't get that first elective because it doesn't work in their schedule, then we can put them in their alternate, and hopefully that works. And if it doesn't, then we'll be contacting you.
Okay.
Yes.
To the structure of the whole thing, so you're head of the counseling department?
Yes.
And then, does it work like here where we have one counselor for all 9th graders, or do you split them up among the different counselors at MEHMS?
They're sort of split.
But the counselor that you have, unless they leave, will be your counselor from 9th through 12th grade?
That's the way it's designed.
Do you have some printouts of the things you showed earlier with the requirements for advanced and standard and all that stuff?
I did not bring, I brought
Is it
one
posted
copy,
anywhere,
so
or-
we can,
We're
I
going to
can
be
leave
posting
it.
this on the website if you want to send it. We can post that. No, but the other.
Credit check sheets.
Yeah.
No, we wouldn't do the transcript.
It'd be a miracle if we get into graduation.
The significance of an AP
We
and
love
the
it.
test and what they would have to score to get the college credit.
Sure. If a student takes an AP course, and I should share with you, we only have a certain number of AP courses at George Mason. We have AP Government, we have AP Spanish 4, we have AP Calc AB, and AP Calc BC. Those are the only 4 AP courses that we have. Those are the 4 AP course tests that we offer in May. A student can opt to take any AP exam that they choose to take, whether they've taken the course or not. If they do that, and they're not going to do it in 9th grade probably, but if they do that, we would need that information, and the family would be required to pay for the AP exam. The 4 APs that I mentioned, the school district pays for those exams. Now, when a student takes an AP exam, they're graded by College Board, and they receive a score, 1 through 5. Depending on the college that a student is applying to, they will submit their AP scores to the college. The college itself will determine whether the student receives credit for that course or not. A lot of times, colleges award AP credit, but if they award it as an elective credit. And I'll just give you an example. My son, I don't live in Falls Church, so my son didn't go to school here. But he did go to a school that had a lot of AP courses. And he graduated with 17 credits. I'm sorry, he got 17 credits when he went to college. But not one of them was in his field of study. So they were like elective credits. And what did that do for him? It opened up more opportunities for him to take additional courses that he wanted and still graduate within the 4 years. But a lot of colleges will not award credit specifically in that discipline. Some will, some will not. And Ms. Shahid asked what score you would need to get to be awarded credit. Again, it's up to the college. Most colleges will not award credit for anything less than a 3.
Some will, whether you take the class or not?
Correct.
Just take, okay.
We're just talking about the AP test itself. That's one of the differences between IB and AP. This is not a discussion of that right now between the differences, but IB goes along with the course. AP, you can take the exam without having taken the course.
But
So
if you take the course, they award the credit automatically or no? I mean,
No.
it depends on the test.
Depends on the college.
It depends on the college.
Absolutely.
But if they took an IB class and the college, say perhaps one of these state schools that does not recognize necessarily always the IB, they could just go ahead and opt to take an AP test to
Say
try
that
and
one
get
more
credit.
time.
So let's say if you're taking an IB class, but the college that you are looking to go to, one of the state schools or whatever, doesn't accept IB, then you could pay, is what I'm hearing, you can pay to take the AP exam separately in order to try and get a credit.
Some of our students have done that.
But you're still not guaranteed.
Correct.
No. But some of our students have done that, and they've remediated on their own to prepare for the AP exam. Yes?
Is offering 4 AP classes kind of standard for public high schools in this area?
We're an IB school, so that's where our focus is.
Like your son
Was not
was
at an
not
IB
at an
school.
IB school?
Correct.
Okay.
We have time for how many more?
We only have about a couple more minutes left
Okay.
of our presentation today.
Yes.
The economics and personal finance course, can you talk about when people can take that? For example, can they take it the summer before 9th grade? Or do they need to be in high school?
We're actually requesting that students do not take that course any time prior to the summer of before 10th grade, at a minimum, simply because we just don't think it'll be beneficial to the student.
It's going to
And
cover
the math.
And the math, right.
And do you offer IB economics and IB business that can be a substitute as well?
Good question. We do offer IB economics, and that is a substitute for economics and personal finance. We do offer IB business, but that has nothing to do with the economics course.
No, Fairfax County.
I know,
I know.
Interesting.
For the distance
Last question.
learning or computer, online classes, can it be from some other source than?
If we offer it, we request that they not take it elsewhere, if we offer it.
But if you don't offer it,
Then they need to go through the counselor. There are only certain approved institutions that the state recognizes, so we would have to offer
Some
some.
community colleges might be one.
For community college, they would get dual enrollment if they went to Nova, but they have to be at least 16 and take the placement test first. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. So just so you guys know, going forward, we have another one of these next week, but it'll be similar content, and then we have the evening event at GM on the 12th. We're going to post information from today online, as well as create a Google form, so if you guys have other questions, we'll take them at that time, and then hopefully we can answer them on the 12th.
And online would be just on the.
On our school website, yes. Okay.
Alyssa, how about if I leave this for you? Do you
Okay.
want to make copies? Sure. Anybody? This is that credit check sheet.
Thank you guys so much.
Bye, Dr. Stevens.